Hello there, and thank you very much for opening up this video. I really do appreciate it. Now, over the next 7 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about two alternatives to the ultra low emission zones, making them completely unnecessary. In case you don't know what an ultra low emission zone is, it's basically a scheme where basically you have to pay a certain fee for driving into a certain parts of a city. The most common one that in the media are the ones being implemented in London, where you'll have to pay £12.50 to drive into central London. This is going to cause considerable financial hardship for a lot of people, and it's going to cause businesses to fold. I'm here to talk to you about two alternatives that's going to make this completely unnecessary. If the goal is to cut down traffic pollution and improve air quality, then these two solutions I'm going to give will make the ultra low emission zones completely unnecessary. Right. So what are they? I want you to for the first one, I want to ask you one question. Have you noticed how much less traffic there is when the schools are closed and the school kids are on holiday? There's practically none. Well, let me explain. Wouldn't it be lovely to have that all year round? Now, I don't mean close the schools. I can hear every schoolboy and schoolgirl up and down the country saying, well, hey, no school. No, 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 no. What they do in some parts of New Zealand, America, and some parts of India for their equivalent of preschool and kindergartens is they have what's known as a walking school bus. What actually happens is, imagine you've got a class of 30 kids. Four adults go to the first kid's house, pick them up. They then walk to the second kid's house, pick them up, and so on and so forth. And then basically, if you think about it logically, for a class of 30 over a academic school year, you're talking about up to 12,000 car journeys saved a year. Now multiply that up by the number of kindergartners, preschool kids there are up and down the UK, and you're talking about a hell of a lot of traffic being cut down. Now, if you think about it, there's less traffic, less congestion, less pollution, it enhances community relations. The kids get stronger, fitter, and healthier. What's not to like? It's really, really simple. And they're relatively cheap to set up. They won't cost very much at all. So basically, that's the first thing that we should be doing. The second thing I'd like you to do is consider this. In some parts of, well, let's go back in time a little bit. I live in Sheffield, and if you speak to any Sheffield resident who was lived in the city in the 70s and 80s, they'll tell you that the buses in those days were ridiculously heavily subsidised. All that this scheme cost was £1 a week in your rates. Now, what happened in those days, from what my neighbours tell me, is that on every bus route there was a bus every 5 to 10 minutes. They used to run like clockwork, from what my neighbours tell me. And on top of that, the maximum bus fare was 10 pence. If you were under 16, it was 2 pence. And an all day ticket cost 20 pence. Now, if you think about it, the buses were so cheap and so efficiently run. Guess what happened? No one bothered to use their cars. Now, if they are serious about cutting traffic pollution, that seems a very logical thing to do. My neighbors tell me that people from America and transport executives from all across the world came to Sheffield to see how our buses were run. Why we don't have that system now is beyond me. Especially, and it makes far more sense to do that than implement these city ultra low emission zones, which are going to cause no end of financial hardship for a lot of people. So that's the one thing. The Luxembourg government have taken it one step further. If you look below, you'll see a link to a video where the Luxembourg government has actually made all public transport entirely free of charge. That makes really good common sense. Air pollution has fallen, has fallen, congestion's fallen. What's not to like? So that's basically what we should do. Those two alternatives basically make the ultra low emission zone completely unnecessary. So what would I like you to do? What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look below, and you'll see two links. With one link to find your local member of parliament if you live in the UK, and one to find your local councillor. What I'd like you to do is forward this video onto your councillor or your local MP, or the video blog if that's where you're seeing this video. Ask them to take action. Now, there is a judicial review in a few months' time where the certain councils are taking the London Mayor to court to basically stop these ultra low emission zones. That's not necessary. What we need to do is basically put it to the court, put a temporary 1 year stay on the ultra low emission zones, and give these walking school buses a chance for 1 whole year. And on top of that, make public transport um, either free or super heavily subsidized like it was in Sheffield. If we can do that, we can make these ultra low emission zones completely unnecessary. There's a huge conflict in policies from Sadiq Khan, the London mayor. On the one hand, he wants to improve air quality, improve people's health. On the other hand, he's actually, how to put this, he wants to combat obesity in the capital. Well, here's the problem, mate. The number one cause of obesity is poverty, believe it or not. If you look below, you'll see how I came up with that argument. I wrote a blog about this in 2008. I was absolutely pasted, but in 2015, the Fabian Society came up with a report called "Hungry for Change," and all my findings were proven to be correct. So there you go. So as I said, please take action, and please be rest assured that if the two proposals are put forward are implemented, we can put an end to these silly ultra low emission zones. Thank you very much for your time. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.